Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Miss Rahma here, and in this occasion I'm going to tell you about the curriculum and course design, teaching by principles by Douglas, chapter 9. Thank you for the reference. And it brings me to the first one is to define terms. In this one, we got 4 terms that we have to define, which I think for you it is a bit confusing. We got 4 terms here, and the first one is curriculum. Curriculum is the selection and structure of the goals, content, sequence, procedures, and assessment of a program or course. And in this one, I've got already an example for you, a curriculum in Indonesia, which is curriculum 2013. You have familiarized with this one. In this one, we got the opening, and then we have also that you have families a lot to use, and we have the basic competence and the core competence that you actually have used a lot in the learning situation and learning and teaching. And then we got also, alright, we go back to the presentation now. We got also program. Program is a broad term describing a collection of classes or course offered within a single institution, sometimes leading to a certificate or degree. As we have familiar with this one, and my actual experience myself, I already saw many programs that is related to English. In kampunginggrissemarang, we offered so many programs, as we made to collect the example of the program itself. Alright, here are some of the examples of the programs that Kampung Inggris offered. We got a lot of programs here, and each program has 12 sessions to 24 session, and we got also boarding program, which student will have the camping or outbound that we may find it exciting. So why not? Alright, and then we got also, and then we got also syllabus. Syllabus is the planned structure of a single course within a program that outlines specific course goals, requirements, readings, assessment, and schedules assignments across the length of the course by grade 2000. Syllabus here is the brain, as we have body have brains, right? And we got course as well, we got programs and curriculum, and then this one we take the syllabus up as the brain of the course itself. All right, we may take a look at the example of the syllabus. Right, let's see. All right, as I'm in Kampung Inggris, I have already familiar with the syllabus in Kampung Inggris itself. I take the example of one of the program here, which is English Conversation 1 Level 1. We got term and year, and then we got also here competence standard, basic competence material, etc., etc. Right, it is the complete syllabus that we got this as a role model of our course. And then the next one, or the last one, is the course or class itself. It is a time-limited educational experience usually carried out in regular meetings or communications with an instructor with a limited number of students. Yeah. Course or class itself is an experience or the environment or the actual learning and studying by the teachers and the students. So that's it. That you also take course and class in the school or in some institution that you may take some knowledge of. All right, and on to the next one is course design process. All right, in this one it brings me to the first analysis, which is situation analysis. We got educational setting. It is the consideration or the answer of some questions, and the question could be what are the societal and cultural norms of the environment of the course of the institution and educational setting, and then what are the institutional frameworks that are being integrated, and what are the goals, structure, physical condition, and who are the students, and what are the resources of the program. And then next one is the class characteristic. It answers the questions of what are the learners' homogeneity, and what is the size of the class, and what are the learners' relationships to the other and to the teacher. And then we got faculty characteristic. It relates to the input a faculty is giving to the students or to the customers. And it answers the question of what are the qualifications of the teacher's training, the experience, the methodological biases, and what are the working conditions, are they hours teaching or supportive service to the faculty, and to what extent the teacher has to collaborate with each other. And then we got governance of the course content. It is the answer of the question who determines course content, to what extent can teachers choose content and or adapt content as they perceive the need to do so. And the last one but not least is assessment and evaluation requirements. It is the answer of the question what stipulation are in force for assessing students for placement, diagnostic or achievement purposes, and what grading norms are in place, and how are courses evaluated and revised. Alright, so that's for the situational analysis. We go to the next one, which is needs analysis. In this one, needs analysis, we have two categories. The first one is objective needs, and the second one is subjective needs. And the objective needs here, including the demographic data on learners, including language ability, interests, etc. We also have hobbies and how the learners are learning something. And then the next one is needs expressed in terms of proficiency levels. All right. In this one, in Kampung Inggris, as my experience, we need expressed in terms of proficiency by taking a placement test. That's how we know we should place the student into what program according to their proficiency levels. And then language skills to be addressed. All right. A student is taking course because they have a goal. They want to achieve something. They want to have the skill that they want to be addressed. And that's it. That's for the objective needs. And the next one is what learners to do in English and target context in English. This is same related to the objective needs, and each student must have different objective needs. And then the next one is subjective needs. Subjective needs is very universal. Each student has different subjective needs. It's according to their feeling, and it's different from the objective needs, because objective needs are related to the academic, but subjective needs, it may relate to their feelings, so we don't know. All right, to make sure that we have a little picture about the subjective needs, the student, what is the next? The first one is learners' attitude towards the target language and culture, and then the expectation that students have of themselves and the course. All right, and the second point here, we see that students have and the course, which we have to collaborate these two, the student side and the course side, and we have to take the gray line or the fair line, which we may think that students have different subjective needs, but the course also have different objective needs. So, all right, that will be our one of the consideration about this analysis. All right, and the next one is purposes that students perceive for studying English again, and then next one, specific language skills that students wish to focus on. In Kampung Inggris, we got English for teenagers, English for children, English for specific purpose, and English for TOEFL preparation and English conversation. All right, the specific language skills here are different in its program, and that's why the subjective needs here is categorized in different points as you can see, point number 4 here, specific language skill that student wish to focus on. So you may take a look on the program that you want to take, and you may take a look at the syllabus on or the materials that you want to learn. Right, and the last one is preference, style, strategy that students have about their learning. All right, students have their own styles of learning. Some students are audiolinguistic. They like to hear something by the audio, and then some students like pictures or drawing, or is according to their artistic side, and many others. So that have to take it into the consideration. Right. All right. It brings me to the next point, which is problematizing. As the idiom we often heard is better safe than sorry. That's how a good institution is like. Yeah, problematizing is needed to answer some of the possible questions about the problems that are likely to come into the institution or program or course. And we have some of the list of the question here. The first one is that did the learners perceive they all need to learn certain skills in English? And the next one is, were managers supportive of the effort? And then, would workers receive paid time to take the course? And the next one, would prospective students have to pay to attend the course? And would the overall administrator of the grocery store pay the teacher for her services? And would there be money to pay for the materials? And was there a convenience space available for the class? Okay, these questions may have take time a lot to consider. So that's how we have to think about it a long time before we design a course. Right. Here we have a quote here. Courses are usually successful because they have anticipated such problem in advance and have effectively determined realistic answers to them. As we say in idiom, short of better safe than sorry. It says a lot. Okay, after all of the question here, as I showed it to you, we also got following question after we answer those questions. After we answer those questions, we have following questions. So it's not end yet. And we got some of the question here. What are institutional requirements and conditions that impact on the course? What administrative authorities must be brought into the process in order to obtain approval, budget, space, and staffing? And what contradiction might exist between what learners want or need and institutional constraints? And what budgetary constraints exist, and how might a budget be effectively constructed for maximum efficiency and accomplishing of goals? Are there any problems surrounding faculty qualification and availability that impact on the course? And are there conflicting expectations between administrators and teachers on what the course can accomplish? And the last one is, what requirements for students' assessment are in place, and how can a teacher creatively work within the system to carry out appropriate assessment? That will be a lot of things to do to answer all these questions. So let's go to the next one, which is specific goals. Here we got two terms again, goals and objectives. So let's see. Goals are rather broadly based aim and purposes in an educational context and are therefore more appropriately associated with whole programs, course, or perhaps sizable modules within a course. And then we got also objectives. Objectives sometimes referred to as sub-goals or the following goals after the goals itself. And objectives are much more specific than goals, both in their conception and in their context. Okay, let's draw a conclusion here. Goals is something more universal. It is about the program itself, what programs wants to do with the student, but objectives here is more specific. specific itself. It means that in one course we learn a material, and what do we want to do about that material? What do we want to achieve? What the teacher and student is expecting to do something with it. And yeah, the objective is more specific. And then it brings me to the next point, which is conceptualizing a course syllabus. As we have seen, I've showed you some of the syllabus, but here are some of the components to include in a communicative syllabus. The first one is goals for the course. Yeah, goals is very, very necessary, and suggested objectives for units and possible for lessons. It is about the objective. And then sequential list of function purposes following the goals that curriculum will fulfill. So we have to integrate between the syllabus with the curriculum, because that is a must. And the sequential list of topics and situation match with the function. And then sequential list of grammatical, lexical, and phonological forms to be taught, again matched to the sequence of function. And then a sequential list of skill, whether it is listening, speaking, reading, or writing, that are also matched to the above sequences and matched reference throughout the textbook units, lesson, and all pages, and additional resources, and possible suggestion of assessment alternatives, including to the tested and genres of the assessment. As we can see here, these components are pretty complex, but we may have to take a look at the example itself, because it does sound a bit complex, but let's see if it's true. All right, as I have mentioned before, the component here, I got component standard, which is we are taking this from the curriculum that we use for the syllabus, and then we got basic competence, materials, and then vocabulary, grammar, pronunciation, and spelling, and it's all is explained in a simple term, so it won't take a lot of pages here, right? Because we explain it in a very, very simple terms that won't take time a lot. And we got also method, which is audiolingual or total physical response, etc. And then we got also assessment. We got the reference here. What assessment to be done to the student, whether it is pronunciation, grammar, vocabulary, or etc. And then we got reference here. Reference could be taken into the model if it has model, or the other reference, internet, that will do. And then also time allotment. It is compulsory here. All right. So as you think, we got a complex component here, but that's will do. All of them will create a complex syllable, but you may also design it into very simple terms that may give you some ease to comprehend your own syllables. All right, and then to the next point is the selecting textbook, material, and resources. Here are some of the criteria for evaluating and choosing textbook for a course. The first one is textbook should correspond to overall program goals, learners' need, and the course objectives. And the next one is textbook should reflect the purposes of the course and uses, present or future. So we cannot stuck in the past, we cannot stuck in the present, but we also have to think about the future. So textbook here somehow needs some revision to be able to catch up with the future progress. All right, and then the textbook should correspond to the intended methodological philosophy of the course, in most cases not dogmatically imposing a restricted method. So it has to correspond, or it has to relate to the teacher method, how they will teach. And then the physical characteristic of the textbook, layout, illustration, organization, variety, should be appealing to the student. Yeah, we may take example of the physical characteristic of student book or kids book that has a lot of pictures, that has a lot of drawing here. So it could be more appealing to the little students. Right, and then the usefulness of the textbook teacher's edition or notes should be accounted for, especially for less experienced teachers. Okay, less experienced teachers. It means that fresh graduate teachers, and that we think it might be difficult to comprehend a course book. So here the course book should be having some notes that will help the less experienced teachers to comprehend the usefulness of the textbook itself. And then the last one is considering logistic factors such as price, availability, auxiliary aids, and workbooks, and the website support. Alright, on to the next one is assessment. Assessment may be offered in a wide array of possible formats. Traditional periodic tests such as quizzes, multiple choice tests, fill-in-the-blank test, and other somewhat mechanical test type offer the possibility of practical quick level check of student attainment. That's the point. The point is that these kind of tests, traditional periodic tests, is giving the ease for the teachers to take some maybe less time to check on the test, to correct the test. Because if the student answer correctly or answer wrong, it was just right or wrong or 0 and 1. So it will take less time to correct the student result. And then we got also essay or interview test or oral production that usually is used by midterm and final examination, which it is inarguably that it takes more time and it has lots of consideration, lot more consideration compared to the traditional periodic test. And then we got alternative in such assessment techniques are available in journals, portfolios, conference, observation, interviews, and self and peer evaluation. So we got a lot of reference. And then the last one is the point about another category of assessment must not be overlooked. What it means by overlooked is that we may think that there are some students that we think good in class, but somehow they don't meet our expectation that, okay, they might do good in the test, but what if they don't? It doesn't meet our expectation, right? And then we also think that we have made a difficult test because we think our student is capable with it, but realistically, the students aren't able to do so, that we think they will just pass it easily, but it's not. So it has to take it into the consideration, which is the test must not be overlooked. We have to notify and check it back. All right, and it leads to the course revision. In What Nation and McAllister 2010, page 173 until 179, called Introducing Change for Preliminary Consideration will help you to revise the course. The consideration is that we see the need for change, and then we determine the extent of change, we engage in realistic change, follow your own principle teaching. All right, I'll explain you into each point. If we see the considering to do change into the course, we just need to do it because why not? We have to take it into consideration to the future, because some course cannot be stuck into the present because we think we have to take it into the future, what the future of the course should be. So here in this point, we see the need for change. And then we have to determine the extent of change. We might see some tweak in the course that we have to determine. We have to see which to be changed and which should be kept. So that's we determine the extent of the change. And then engage in realistic change. We should be realistic to the change that we have to make into the course, because if we are not being realistic, it will be just chaos to the course itself. And then we also have to follow our principle teaching. So teachers and institutions have their own principles. So in taking into the change of a course, we have to consider about the principle that the teacher have and the institution have, because we cannot take the very tweaking path that may lead into the new problems. Okay, and the next one is course revision. Here are some of the consideration of the revision: reminders of those design steps, appropriateness of the course goals, adequacy of the syllabus to meet those goals, textbook and materials used to support the curriculum, classroom methodology, activities and procedures, appropriate orientation of both teachers and students before the course, the students' motivation and attitudes, and the student perception of the course, and monitoring student progress through informal assessment, the students' actual performance as measured by formal assessment, institutional support including resources, classroom and environment, and staff collaboration and development before and during the course. And the last one is the place of your course within the total program. So that's end my presentation. Thank you. Is there any question?
Okay, what will we measure students' understanding? How will we measure students' understanding?
To measure students' understanding, we have to make a structured assessment, because as I said before, sometimes teacher has a lot of expectation to the student, but we don't know that the students are fully comprehending and fully understanding our material. So that's why we are using assessment, and we have the rubric assessment itself. So that's how you measure student understanding. And we also have to take it into consideration that teacher have to ask and giving feedback to the teacher, to the students.
All right. How do you know if your course is successful?
The course is successful as I mentioned before, if the course has answered to their problematizing step. Yes. So that's it.
Hi, Miss Rahma. Okay, so my question is, how often we should assess or evaluate our curriculum?
I'm sorry, can you repeat your question?
How often we should assess or evaluate our curriculum? If was that our curriculum was that misleading or something happened in our curriculum? So how often we should assess it?
How often? All right. We have to check our curriculum if we think it has the need for change. We always evaluate in the end of the term, in the end of the semester, and that's how we see. We have to make a meetings, and we have to evaluate in each term, in the end of the term, in the end of the semester, and that's how we evaluate. And if we see the need for change, we have to change the curriculum and the syllabus.
Okay, related with online and offline classes that we have now, Ms. Rahma, do you think that we should have different curriculum, or is it different syllabus, or do we need to give different treatments to the classes, with online and offline classes? Thank you.
Yes, we have to make different curriculum and the syllabus, because we have to see first if the curriculum of the syllabus is practical for the online, because the first curriculum is intended to the offline class, but it's not intended to online class. So we have to make a different curriculum that is practical for the online, and the syllabus itself, if the curriculum is changed, so the syllabus will follow the change, right? So we have to see that the curriculum and the syllabus is practical for online class. We might not change it, but if it's not practical, we have to change it. But to take the safe zone or safe line, we have to change it. That's my answer.
Ms. Rahma, as a teacher, how would you see the role of textbooks for your real teaching?
The role of textbook is my guideline. So textbook here says what material we should teach to the students and what kind of assessment, and I take the course book into my presentation, into my reference, because I don't take all inside the course book and give it to the student and yes, please do it all of the course book, but I take it as the reference because I need to take a reference as well to the internet, to the other sources. So here I take course book as my guidance, also as the sources or the material that I will give to the students. Alright, that's all, and thank you. We'll see you again, and bye-bye. Wassalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.